Welcome to my morning. This is Carter Conlon, and I think I have something special to share with you today. I want to talk to you about how God leads us into understandings and truths which we naturally would not be able to lay hold of apart from the experience or the leading of God, the places He takes us to so that He can reveal something to us, in us, and through us that He wants to reveal because He just loves us and He's leading us in a place. And quite often, the truths that we learn, I'm not going to call it the deep truths because there's nothing much deeper than the cross, but the reality is truths that are an anchor to our soul. May I put it that way? Truths that give us understanding of the ways of God, of the plan of God, of the freedom and the abundance that God offers us. Quite often don't come through book learning. Now, they will to some degree, but most often I've experienced it's being led through the valley of the shadow of death, like David said in Psalm 23, because it's only after being led through the valley of the shadow of death that he finds that goodness and mercy have been following him all the days of his life. So that verse is not placed before the valley of the shadow of death, it's placed after. So if you're going through a dry time, a wilderness time, a difficult time, a time where your whole prayer life is, God, why? What are you doing? Like, help me to understand. Where are you, Lord? If you're going through that, I want to suggest to you that because all things do work for good to those who love God and are the called according to His purpose, that because of that, He is actually bringing you to a place of a deeper understanding of Him and His ways and His truth than you could have ever experienced without Him leading you through that wilderness time in your life. Psalm 107, speaking of the people of God at that time, in verse 4, says, they wandered in the wilderness in a desolate way. So they're in a dry place and they feel like empty, like, God, where are you? I don't know if you've ever been there. I've been there. I know what that feels like. God, where are you? Like, have I displeased you? Did I do something wrong? Are you offended? Did I offend you in something? Have you found a reason why you have to resist my going forward as it is? Hungry and thirsty, their soul fainted in them. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and He delivered them out of their distresses. He led them forth by the right way, that they might go to a city for a dwelling place. Oh, that men would give thanks to the Lord for His goodness and His wonderful works to the children of men. For He satisfies the longing soul and fills the hungry soul with goodness. The one thing I can honestly say is that all my life as a believer, I've had a hunger for God in my heart. I can't even tell you the numbers of times I've just prayed, Jesus, I want you. I just want more of you. I want to see you. I want to walk with you in a deeper way. I just want what you want for my life. And I remember in the younger years, we were talking about Canada, where I started traveling the country as a revivalist, and I would go into churches and I would see them, come back to some form of life and purpose. I was fasting a lot. I was jogging during the day. I was praying fervently. I was just doing everything I thought I was supposed to do. And then at the age of 37, I was speaking in Western Canada, and I started to feel strange. I couldn't explain what the feeling was. Came back to my own church in Riceville, and I played on a church community hockey team from time to time, and went out to play in a game and skated my first shift, and came back to the bench, and I couldn't catch my breath. I was like breathing, but I'm not recuperating. And so I went out and I skated a second shift. I came back and it was even worse than the first time. It never occurred to me that I could experience a physical breakdown, but I did. At the age of 37, it took about 6 months to recover. 6 months of questions, 6 months of having to be careful not to raise my voice too loud in the pulpit because of the headaches I would experience after. 6 months of feeling always fatigued and tired. And then the 6 months of fatigue at a certain point turned into an anger, even towards God. I'm ashamed to say it, but it is true. And where I felt like, God, I've given you everything, and look what you've done for me. You've taken away my strength and my health, and you've not been faithful to me. That's just the way I felt. And I began to, the longer it went on, the more distressed I got, the more I felt betrayed literally, because you get this erroneous thinking that because we do something for God that he's virtually obligated to return the favor in kind to you, as you think he should. But that's not the case whatsoever. Actually, he was leading me into something I couldn't have learned through study. Isn't it amazing? He was leading me into something that was going to affect the lives of a lot of people, I think, in the future, maybe even yours on this devotional in the weeks to come. So one day I just went out on a gravel road and I just had it out with God. I literally screamed at him. I was so fed up, and I said, God, Jesus, I've given you everything. I've given you my career. I've given you my home. I've given you my strength. I've given you everything I've got, my family. And you respond by taking away my strength. And I just said, is there some kind of a crookedness in you that I'm not aware of? I was just very angry, and I was saying things that you shouldn't say to God. But I was like this portion of scripture. I was in the wilderness and I was empty, and I was finding nowhere to, I was hungry, thirsty, finding no resting place. And I cried out to the Lord in my trouble. It wasn't necessarily like, it was more of an accusation than a prayer, but it was still a cry from a heart that wanted him. There's no doubt about that. And when I got it all out, I just heard him speak to me, and he just said, I love you, Carter. And when he spoke those words to me, it just melted my heart. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I fell on my knees and I said, well, God, what do you want me to do? And he said, Carter, you're doing a lot of things I've never asked you to do. I gave you 158 people that I died for that were on the membership list of the church at that time. And they're precious to me, and I gave them to you to shepherd, to look after them. And he said, when you stand before me one day, that's all you will answer for. These names that I gave you will unfold, and I will say, give an account of what I put in your hand. And he said, I have to tell you, there'll be no reward for the other things that you have done, because you can't earn favor with me by the things that you do. It doesn't work that way. My heart melted, and it started changing everything. And I experientially entered into a rest where I was no longer living to try to please God by the things that I was doing. And I began to realize the only way I could please him is by faith and just following what he gives me to do and being obedient to do it with all of my heart. I told Pastor Teresa I'm going to go away for 3 days, and I'm just going to take time at this retreat center and just seek God anew and afresh. And so I did. I went away, I got to tell you, on the road that day, when I got it all out and I found out God loved me just because he did, my strength started to return. I started to come back to strength again, and I went away for those 3 days, and I said, God, I'm asking you, Lord, just to speak to me in a deeper way. Lead me into truth that I've not known. That was my heart's cry. Obviously, I've missed something when I didn't understand that I can't really please you by the things that I do for you and even in your name. God Almighty, help me, speak to me. So I went away for 3 days, and I came back at the end of 3 days, and I was so disappointed. I told Teresa, she said, what did God speak to you? And I said, well, he gave me a message. I said, but I don't understand it. I have no idea. I just don't understand it. I said, but I know he gave it to me. And it turned out to be a message on the new covenant. That's something I'm going to be speaking to you about in some of these devotionals. It might take a week or 2 or 3 even to get it all out, but it is life-changing. The new covenant, understanding just what our redemption is, what happened on the cross, what kind of a covenant was made there, and do we play any part? What is our part, if anything, in it? You'd be absolutely amazed. Years later, I went to New York City. I hadn't preached this message to my knowledge, and because I didn't fully get it. It was called The Shout of the King. And I went to New York, and the Lord said, I want you to preach it now. And I said, but God, I don't even fully understand this message. He said, you just obey me and you just do it. So I got up on one of the services in New York City, and I preached this message. And at the end of the message, David Wilkerson just exploded with life. And he came to me and he looked at me, he said, that's life. He said, you just preached life. That's life. Now, I didn't know that God had given him a promise as a young minister that if you will walk with me all of your life in the fear of the Lord, I will show you my covenant. I will show you my covenant. This is the promise. And he carried that promise for years and years and years as a minister. And the day that I preached that message that I didn't fully understand, he saw it as the answer to the promise that God had given him. I had the experience. David Wilkerson had the theology, and experience met theology, and the new covenant came back into fore again. It's not new. It's just an old truth that maybe in all of our religious activity we're prone to lose. He told me the new covenant will be the key to the victory over sin in the last days church. That's how important the new covenant is. So my point is, he led them to a city for a dwelling place. He led them forth by the right way, his way. The only way I could ever even receive what I was about to speak was through an experience of having nothing left but the mercy of God. Oh, it's an amazing truth. And if you have nothing left, watch what God's going to do in your life today. This is Carter Conlon, and I really trust that my morning will make your day. See you again tomorrow. God bless you.